Soufiane Amrabat was responsible to drop down to receive the ball from the center backs as mentioned earlier. Here's how Morocco was able to counter the pressure. Notice how the players are positioned away from each other in the midfield, making it harder for Portugal to mark them. Now Morocco's transitions were a key behind this victory. By playing short and quick passes in the midfield, Hello there everyone, it is Mitsu here and welcome back to another video on my channel. Today I'll analyze the match between Morocco and Portugal. Morocco started the match with their usual 4-1-4-1 formation. Soufiane Amrabat played as a single pivot, while Youssef Nusayri played up front. Walid El-Regragui gave clear instructions to Youssef Nusayri during the defensive phase. He was applying this man-to-man marking style against Ruben Neves, while Portugal was building up. This stopped Portugal from building up their attacks on the ground, so Bruno Fernandes was forced to drop down to receive the balls from the defensive line. Bruno would then apply Portugal's main attacking tactic. Portugal concentrated on performing plenty of these switches towards the left-hand side of the pitch. Rafael Guerreiro would be positioned as wide as possible to take the advantage from Morocco's compact defensive line. On the other hand, Portugal applied high pressure while Morocco was building up. Although this pressure looks good in these examples, the pressure was pretty random if you can say so. Meaning that no specific roles were given to the players during the pressure, so Morocco were able to counter this pressure multiple times, and we'll explain how this happened in a minute. You can see how Portugal was not applying the high pressure throughout the first half as well. Soufiane Amrabat was responsible to drop down to receive the ball from the center backs. Portugal's shape during the attacking phase looked like this: 3 midfielders of Bruno, Bernardo and Ruben Neves in the midfield, and 3 very compact forwards positioning between the lines, and finally Diogo Dalot and Rafael Guerreiro on the flanks. Again, Fernando Santos did not prepare a creative way to break through Morocco's defensive block. Instead, Portugal tried to go for a lot of these long balls as the forwards go for blindside runs behind the defensive line. We must also say that Morocco was not by any means using a low block during the first half, but the tactical awareness of the players allowed them to keep the compactness of the block and mark the passing lanes. You can see how Portugal are just pushing numbers up front, without actually having a plan to perform any kind of link-up plays between the block. So, up to 6 players positioned here, but again, no one to link with them from the midfield. As mentioned earlier, Portugal concentrated on the left flank, by trying to position as many players as possible between the lines. Fernando Santos asked his midfielders to go up front. Here we can see Bernardo Silva playing in the left wing position. Similarly, the same shape again from Portugal, but now João Felix in that position. The only threat that Portugal was able to create was whenever Rafael Guerreiro linked with any of these midfielders on the left flank, and then actually moved forward with the ball. But again, Morocco had the advantage in all of the aerial duels. Soufiane Amrabat was responsible to drop down to receive the ball from the center backs as mentioned earlier. Here's how Morocco was able to counter the pressure. Notice how the players are positioned away from each other in the midfield, making it harder for Portugal to mark them. Now Morocco's transitions were a key behind this victory. By playing short and quick passes in the midfield, they were able to keep the possession of the ball against this pressure. And then as the team moves forward, we can see Morocco in a 7 versus 7 situation around the penalty area. Now given that Morocco already has an advantage in the aerial duels, they went for direct crosses inside the box, and they scored. Portugal did not have any reaction to this goal. Fernando Santos kept applying the same tactics that he started the match with. You can see how the players in between the lines cannot receive the ball. Here again, notice how Bruno is dropping down as Ruben Neves is completely isolated in the midfield, and then all the players who are positioned between the lines are asking for the ball. Here is why Walid El-Regragui was able to take this team this far in the tournament. All the players are strictly performing their roles. You can see here how Hakim Ziyech is performing his defensive duties and helping Achraf Hakimi in blocking these switches towards the left hand side. And again, their transitions and counter-attacks caused continuous problems for Portugal, as Fernando Santos was pushing a lot of players high up the pitch without preparing for the defensive transition. This video is brought to you by METRICA Sports, the fundamental tool for every coach and analyst. Create and manage all your video analysis in one platform. Use the coupon MITSUGR at the checkout for a 10% discount. Moving to the second half, Walid El-Regragui did not change any tactics at the beginning of this half. The team was still using the 4-1-4-1 formation that they started the match with. Ruben Neves was subbed out as he was not involved in the first half whatsoever. So Bernardo Silva had to drop down now to receive the ball from the center backs. Bruno Fernandes was playing higher up the pitch. But again, you can see how all these midfielders are playing anywhere but in their actual possessions, thanks to the great defensive awareness and shape of Morocco. Fernando Santos also asked his players to be positioned around the penalty area and beside the center backs to go for long balls. Notice how Morocco are closely marking each and every player from Portugal who is positioned around and in between their defensive block. And again, notice how the majority of these examples had the ball with 3 players at the back from Portugal. More minutes into the second half, Morocco started using a low defensive block. Notice how compact this block was, making sure the ball is always outside the block. Walid Regragui concentrated on these counter-attacks. Morocco actually missed a chance or two of scoring the second goal. Notice this 5 versus 5 situation, thanks to their quick attacking transitions. Walid Regragui also showed great reactions to how the game was progressing. He actually made the first change by using 5 players at the back, using this 5-1-3-1 formation, with Morocco still playing as a single pivot. Now, Fernando Santos did not do anything differently. His reaction to the 5 players at the back was to ask more and more players to be positioned around these defenders, in order to cross the ball inside the box. Walid Regragui made the second change by using a double pivot in the midfield, consisting of Soufiane Amrabat and Ezzeddine Ounahi. This change was done to close down the spaces in the 5-man defensive line. Basically, Soufiane Amrabat was responsible to cover the spaces behind the fullback whenever they were pulled out of possession. Since Portugal had more numbers around the box, this play was performed multiple times, but Amrabat was always there marking the passing option. Vitinha was subbed in to help Bruno and Bernardo Silva move higher up the pitch, as he was now responsible to drop down and receive the balls from the center backs. But again, the bigger issue was linking up with the players between the lines. As the match was coming to an end, Morocco used this defensive shape, but by making sure that some players are applying high pressure to avoid getting further back. As you can see in these examples, one or more players are always pressing the ball owner to disturb Portugal while building up. Fernando Santos asked multiple players to be positioned between the center backs, as you can see, but Portugal was struggling in connecting the crosses inside the box, so you can see how the block is divided into 2 halves, one applying a low block to close down the spaces, and then 3 players here applying high pressure to disturb the ball owner and pass more time. Before I end the video, I would like to let you know that the Ekkono Coaches Academy started publishing in-depth analysis of the World Cup teams. So if you would like to know more about these tactics, you can use the code METRICA after signing up from the link in the description. So that was it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the analysis. I've actually uploaded another video this morning analyzing the match between Croatia and Brazil. Make sure to watch it if you haven't already. So Morocco already broke the records in this tournament, but do you think they will reach the final? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.